The passive voice. When do we use passive voice? There are certain situations in which you can use passive voice. The first one is this: when you give more importance to the object than the action. Here is an example. The new library will be opened by the Queen. Here the most important thing is the new library. Another is when the action is more important than the object. Here is another example. 30 people were killed in the earthquake. The most important thing here is that there were people that they were killed. So here the verb is the most important thing. Here is another situation in which you can use passive voice. For example, when the person is obvious or the person is unimportant. Let's take a look at the example. He has been arrested. Arrested by who? It is obvious that was the police who did the action. Okay. When we talk about the passive voice, what is the most important thing to take into account? So in this video, we're gonna focus on those changes that the verb has in order to create the passive voice. So the most important thing here is the verb or the action, okay? Perhaps you're asking yourself, how can we change active voice into passive voice? So it's very simple. Here are some tips. The first one, you might identify the time. For example, if the sentence is in present, in past, whatever it is. The second one is identify the subject. To identify the subject, we might ask who performed the action. So it could be a person, an animal, an object, whatever it is. So who performs the action? The third one is identify the noun. The noun, it is identify the noun. You will ask this question: what is being affected? That could be a thing, whatever it is. And the most important thing is to control the tense with the verb to be. As we already know, there are different type of verb to be. For example, in present there is am, are, and is. To the past, was or were, depending on the person. To the future, only will be. Past participle being and progressive being. When you want to change active voice into passive voice, it's very important that you don't change the tense of the sentence. The sentence in passive voice will keep the same tense as in the active voice. And the most important thing is that you will always use past participle in any sentence of passive voice. Okay? So in order to know the past participle of the verbs, we have to remind the regular and irregular verbs. Let's take a look at this example. Regular verb, for example, the verb walk. Walk is an irregular verb. So the past participle is the same, walked, with ed at the end. The verb do is an irregular verb, so the past participle is done. Same as in go, because it's an irregular verb and the past participle is gone. But play is a regular verb, and so you can use played as a past participle. And jumped is a regular verb, and the past participle is jumped with ed at the end. Okay? So let's put this theory on practice. Let's do this example. Agatha Christie wrote a book. The first thing we're gonna do is identify the time. The time here is past. Okay? Simple past. So we're going to keep that in mind. Then we're going to identify the subject. The subject is Agatha Christie, who is the person that does the action. And the noun is the book, that is the thing that is affected by the verb. We're going to pass this sentence to passive voice. We're going to take into account that the verb, it is in past, so we're going to keep that past. So we're going to wrote was because it's in past. We're referring to the book, and the past participle of wrote is reading. Okay, so we have the sentence here. Agatha Christie wrote a book, and then the book was written by Agatha Christie. So we keep the same things of the sentence. Another example is this: I will make them lunch. Okay, So the first thing we are going to do is identify the tense. It's future because it will make, then the subject, and then the noun, the things that is affected by the verb. Now we are going to pass this sentence into passive voice. We put the lunch, then we look the verb that is future, we put will be, so we write will be, and we're going to put the past participle that is made. So then we complete the sentence with the noun, and we keep the tense that is future. Now we're going to talk about the passive causative. So when do we use the passive causative? We use the passive causative when one thing or one person causes another thing in another person to do something. That it says that another person does an action for you. So here we have an example. I have my hair cut and dried. That it says that someone else cut and dried my hair for me. Okay? There are other situations in which you can use passive causative. For example, when the subject is responsible for something that happened but he did not do it. For example, this one. He got his leg broken. He is not the responsible for his leg got broken. And another, I got my cars washed. Someone else washed my car, but not I. Okay? Another one is for unfortunate experiences. For example, my car got broken. There is something bad that happened to me and it is unexpected. Okay? Another situation is when we arranged someone to do something for us. That it says that when we pay for services, okay? When we pay another person in order to do something for us. Here's an example. I want to have my check cashed yesterday. Someone cashed my check yesterday. So when we talk about passive causative, there are two structures. Now we're going to talk about the structure of passive causative sentences. Here is an example. I had the car fixed. We have the causative, that is have or get in any form, and the past participle of the verb. Okay? So in this type of sentence, we really don't know who did the action. Okay, I had the car fixed. Someone fixed the car for me. Here is the structure of a passive causative sentence. We have the subject, the causative, that it could be have or get, an object, and then the action, the verb and past participle. Here's an example. We had our door fixed. Another example is she had her hair cut. She had her hair cut. The subject, then the causative, that is had in past, hair, that is an object, and the action, the verb in past participle. You can use the past participle in any sentence, whatever sentence you want. So here's a sentence, and we're going to make the passive causative. Okay, I have this sentence. I can use it in I had my house cleaned, or I get my house cleaned, whatever you want. And that is past, something that happened in the past. Now I can use I am having my house cleaned, or I am getting my house cleaned. There is an action that is happening in the present. Or we can have I will have my house cleaned, or I will get my house cleaned. That depends on the context, okay? But remember that we always gonna have the past participle as a verb. Also, you can use the passive causative in affirmations, negations, or questions. For example, let's use the passive causative in affirmations. Here is an example. I had my house cleaned. Had in past, but is an affirmative. Another one in negative. I didn't have my house cleaned. Cleaned in past participle. Okay? And a question. Did you have your house cleaned? Okay? Now we're going to have the activity. So the activity is the next one. Rewrite the following sentence into the passive causative forms as in the orange example. Here we have some sentences and you have to transfer into the passive causative form. Okay? Here is the example.